Well, howdy folks, Argsy here. Good morning to you all, and what a beautiful morning it is. Today is our first day of planting. It's been a couple of months since we've caught up. Not much has been happening around the farm, just the usual chores, making sure everything's shipshape and ready to go for today. We obviously went through the planter, had some things we needed to get repaired on that, which we've gone through and done. That's all now sorted out. What else is there? We've been working on the tractor, and there's a few developments there which we'll talk about in just a second when we get down to the yard. I want to show you what's happened there with the tractor, but some real improvements that we've been able to make, which has been fantastic. But firstly, I do want to talk about the goals that we have set ourselves for this season. We obviously wanted to boost the yield from the farm. We did that by sampling the soil and getting our pH adjusted in the first instance, and we've now got a really good grounding, a good baseline for understanding exactly how much nitrogen we need to put on, particularly onto the cornfields. Obviously the soybeans, nitrogen is not too much of a worry, but definitely on that corn we want to make sure we can give our seeds the best chance to grow. We've also increased the size of the fields. We ploughed around the outsides and managed to gain quite a bit of extra land from doing that, including extending into that CRP land across the road from the yard. So a couple of really big improvements we've managed to make there to hopefully see some real improvements in our yield. We're aiming for hopefully about 4,500 to 5,000 bushels of corn and somewhere around 4,000 to 4,500 bushels of soybeans. That's the target. That's what we want to try and achieve, and if we can do that, I think that'll be a real good evidence of us being successful in doing what we were trying to do. So we'll carry on down there. We've got a few things to get sorted out before we can actually get started with the planting, but we will be jumping straight into the field over the road, the one with the CRP land, and getting that one planted first. We're actually going to put soybeans into there, but the rest of the fields are all going to be exactly the same as they were last season, just so we have a bench line or a benchmark there to be able to compare it to for year-on-year improvements, particularly through the larger land areas and the soil sampling in that we've done. So we'll get down to the yard and get started on things. Alright, well here we are. Let's just park ourselves up here. I'll just get everything turned off, lights, engine, and let's go for a quick little wander around the yard just to show you what's changed. So, no developments here on the shed, nothing on the bins, although in saying that I do have some bins to go and look at a little bit later, some second-hand ones, local farmer who has put up some bigger bins, so we're going to go and take a look at what he's got. But first things first, we have ourselves a header trailer. I had some contact from a farmer in Elmer, Missouri, Miles, who got in touch with me. He'd been cleaning out an old shed that they were converting into a dairy, and he said that they'd located a header trailer that looked like it would be perfect for the old gleaner and the header we have. So, no cost, we just had to drive all the way up there to Missouri to go and pick it up. So we have now got ourselves a header trailer for our grain header, which is fantastic. Still nothing for the corn header, that's still sitting on the ground over here. But the other thing that they found when they were looking around in the shed is over here, and this is probably even more exciting than having a header for our trailer. We'll just jump over here, get this garage door opened up, and the old International now has a cab. He managed to find they had a cab for one of these sitting in the shed that was she located as well. So we've been able to get that all fitted here onto the tractor, and it means we're just going to have a little bit more comfort as we go through our planting. So again, pretty excited to have that rather than that old roll cage that we did have. I know a few of you picked up on it, and thank you very much for commenting. There was an error with our delivery. We've had the rest of our herbicide delivered, the other pro box there of corn seed, but as some people commented, we've got a planter that takes liquid fertilizer, not solid fertilizer, and the delivery did bring solid fertilizer. FBN admitted it was their mistake. I should have picked it up when we were unloading, but I think in that snowy weather we were just in such a hurry to get things out of the truck and into the shed, wasn't really paying attention to one, what it was that was delivered, and two, what it was I signed for. But it's the putting right that counts, isn't it? And FBN have done a fantastic job for that, so we now have some liquid fertilizer instead of solid fertilizer, which will go into the back of our seeder much easier. But yeah, that is all of the updates we have here. I'm excited to go and check out these bins. The other thing, just while I remember it as well, you'll see the money there for the farm down to 10.5 grand. We're really starting to push the limits there by making these loan repayments. So fingers crossed we can keep on making those and we're not going to run into any issues. We've probably only got a couple of months money left there, so we're going to have to figure out exactly what it is we can do there. I'm hoping now that we've made sort of 5-6 months worth of repayments, the bank's going to be a little bit kinder to us in the future. But I'll just jump over here. We're going to go and check this soil out, make sure it is ready to plant, because we're going to get over here and start to get some soybeans in very, very soon. Well, I must say, this is looking pretty good. Still a little bit damp, a little bit sticky. Probably don't want to be running the planter through here just yet, but I think by the time we've got over there, got the planter hooked up, got some seed into the back, some fertilizer into the back, and everything's set up and ready to go. With that sun, as it gets higher in the sky, it's going to dry this out pretty darn quickly. So I think we need to go and make a start. Got a lot of land to cover. This field on its own is feeling a little bit daunting with the size of that planter. Not to mention, once we get down there into the corn, particularly when we start chewing through the seed a little bit faster with the corn than we do with the soybeans. So let's get back over. Let's go and get things set up. Well, first things first, let's get some seed put up here into the boxes. Should be able to just work off the pallet up there. Let's just get that up there. We'll have to jump up and rip some of those open and put them in. Fingers crossed we're going to have enough seed. I know FBN are pretty reactive at this time of year, although I expect there's probably going to be a lot of farmers around the area wanting to get things in. So we'll just jump out here and we'll go and try and get those put up into the seed to get that all filled up, and then we'll go and grab some liquid fertilizer. Not herbicide, not solid fertilizer, but some liquid fertilizer to go in these tanks on the front. And there we go, that's the last bag, and I think those are pretty much all full, so we'll just carefully jump down off here. A good thing we're working so close to the yard, we can just come back over and top up as and when we need to. Weather's looking pretty good, so I think we should just be able to leave these sitting out here. In fact, we might just put them back in just on the inside of the shed. There's no harm having them there, but at least they're covered. Not going to get run over by someone coming in to the yard. And we'll go and grab one of these totes of fertilizer here and go and get that pumped in. Well, when I say pump, we're probably going to have to use a hose and some gravity to run it out of the tote down into the tanks. Alright, there we go. We'll just get that tap turned off on the tote there, and that should be us all full up and ready to go planting. Let's get this moved out of the way. Use what, 39% of it? Of course, we're hardly going to need any of this. We are planting soybeans, which we know doesn't require much nitrogen. We could even consider, we'll see how we go with the seed. We could even think about throwing a pallet on the back of the pickup, taking that over. Gosh, we're just over the road, we could even run the skid steer over and just park that on the side of the field too. It's just there, but we'll see. Anyhow, look at that cab, doesn't look good. I'm looking forward to get in and using that. I wasn't too excited about what we saw, but there we go. Get those covers closed, get everything all set up, and we'll head on over to the field. Well, here we are, moment of truth. First crops about to head into the ground for a new season here on the farm. We'll just get that all powered up, get that lowered down. There we go. Now we should be able to get our row marker down there. That's us on the outside. Of course, no GPS or any guidance steering or anything fancy like that for us here. We're going to have to do things the good old-fashioned way, and it feels a little bit like it sitting up in this tractor, but let's just head forward just a little bit, and then we'll go back and check depths, check planting depths, check everything's working out right, that we've got closing wheel pressures and all of those kind of things where we need them. Right, I think that's probably far enough. Let's go and see what sort of job it's doing. Well, I've got to admit, all looks good to me. Getting a good row there for our next pass, so we'll know exactly where we need to run to make sure we're getting everything seeded properly. But I've got to admit, I'm pretty happy with the job that's doing so far. It seems to be working out pretty darn well. So I think with that in mind, we're just going to jump in and get into it. I think we're going to start things off. We'll try and put together a little bit of a time lapse for you here in the first part of the field. Obviously, I want to try and concentrate as much as I can on the planting, so the fancy artistic shots might just have to wait until we get into another field a little bit later on, or maybe once we get onto some proper up and down rows. Headlands, always that pesky little part that you really do need to concentrate on. So let's jump up, carry on planting. believe it, we are out of seed already. Just managed to make it around the field twice on the headlands, and we're already done. So we'll head on back over. I think we will have to investigate possibly bringing a pallet of seed over into the field. We'll just have to wait and see what the best option is. We'll see how much of this pallet is left over. Maybe we take that one over on the skid steer, and I'm starting to worry a little bit now. We might not have enough soybean seed to get all 3 fields done. So let's just wait and see what the situation is at the end. Get that opened up there. I'm going to jump into the skid steer and we'll go and get that pallet brought over. That's the seed to fill up again. We've used 2/3 of a pallet, so I think we're definitely not going to get the field finished with just 1 pallet. I think we're going to struggle to get the field finished with 2 pallets, to be perfectly honest. I don't know how I've so horribly underestimated exactly how much seed we needed. I would have thought 2 bags would have been more than enough, but it would appear I've definitely got that one wrong. Anyhow, we'll be on the blower to FBN. In fact, once we've got this field done, we'll have a better idea on how much more we need, because we have a rough idea on how big the other 2 fields are combined, and we are keeping track. We've planted 3 acres, you'll see down there, so we are keeping track of exactly how many acres we're going to have in this field, which is nice. That's a good way to keep up to date with exactly what we're up to. I don't know if it double counts when we've overplanted an area, or whether it only counts the areas that actually get seed put in them, but it'll be at least a very good guide on how big this field is. But let's just get spun ourselves around here again, line up with where we ran out of seed, right about there. Get that turned on, lowered down, row marker down, and we'll be able to carry on. So no doubt you're going to see us making a few trips back and forth to get things topped up, but it is what it is. Right, carry on. 8.8 acres down according to the meter we have on the tractor, and we're already through the first pallet of seed. And like I said, I had estimated that pallet, those 2 pallets of seeds would go across all 3 fields for us, so I've certainly got that quite some way wrong. Now I know the other 2 fields, they're both about 10.5 acres each before we expanded them, so they might be, I don't know, 12, 13 acres now. So let's just say they're 1.5 of what we've done so far. We're going to need 1.5 pallets of seed for that, so I reckon we're going to have to get 3 more pallets just to be safe, that we can get everything done without having to go and order some more. I'd hate to have to go and do it all again, order 3 more, and then find out we actually needed 4. So I don't know, maybe we do order 4, and any we don't use, hopefully we can return. But we're going to carry on here. It's going pretty well actually, considering there's no GPS or anything like that. The ridge markers are actually doing a fantastic job. They're making things a whole lot easier, that we can run around with those. So apart from trying to do a straight line as we go across the front, across the longest part of the field, I haven't quite got that right, but otherwise everything's pretty good. How much fertilizer have we used? Not much. I think we've used about 12%, so that's certainly not going to run out anytime soon. And there we are, so it's about 1/3 of a pallet to fill that up, so keep that in mind. But let's just leave that out there. I know we're going to need it again probably. Gonna jump back in the tractor and carry on planting. Just a couple more passes left and we will be done. Just this little piece to do, and that's our first field planted. I'm looking forward to getting this done. It's actually quite exciting to have our first field finished off. It's gone pretty well. I think we've actually ended up using a little bit less seed than I expected. We've got, what, 1/3, 28% left in here, probably 1/4 by the time we've done this. In fact, we'll just run down it. And we've got 2/3 of a pallet left, so we used a pallet and 1/3 effectively. Which means probably for the other 2 fields we're definitely going to need 3 pallets. We're not going to get it finished with just 2, but 3 should just about do it. But there we go. That's a good job well done in getting that all finished off. So we're going to head back on over to the yard now. I do have an appointment to go and have a look at these bins down the road, so we're going to jump in the pickup, go for a drive down and check these out. Like I said earlier, they are second hand. They have been used. The farmer's gone and upgraded to some bigger bins. They've gone to something like a 10,000 or 20,000 bushel bin. I'm not sure exactly how big it ended up being, but they've got some little 2,000 or 3,000 bushel bins that we're going to go and take a look at and see whether it's even possible. It might not even be possible to relocate them, but if it is a possibility, we will go and have a look and see what's involved and whether that's something we could do to bring down here for us. But let's head on over. I'm going to get this parked up. I'll get it all topped up with seed And that now, although, like I said, I'm not going to go and start planting the other fields until we get our new delivery, extra 3 pallets of seed from FBN. There's no point starting and getting halfway through, just in case they can't supply the seed in as quickly as we need it, and we don't want to get caught out with the weather. I do see there's a little bit of rain on the way. The other thing is I don't want to have to change over to getting into the corn yet, because we'll need to change the planter, all the feeding wheels and everything like that, and the boxes aren't quite set up for the bigger corn seeds, so we'll have to figure that out as well, get that done. But anyhow, let's get this topped up, we'll get it put away, out of the way, and we will then go for a drive and have a look at these bins. Well, that's things all sorted out and tidied up there. Now I'm going to head down and take a look at these bins. We have to head back sort of up towards town, back past the airfield, where the top dressers operate out of, back down past that hog farm and the field that we were looking at renting, and of course the BTO, the big time operation in town, has taken that over away from us, and somewhere down there's a farmer who has got these bins to look at. So we'll go for a little bit of a drive down there and go and see what they look like, whether it's something we're going to be able to move or not. Well, it's a good thing we didn't lease that field. Look at it, it's full of weeds. I don't think the other guys have been down and done anything to this one yet. They're probably getting the work done on the fields around their yard first up. But there it is, that was the field we were going to lease, which would have been a fantastic one. Now, we've got to carry on down this way a little bit further. I think there's a third right after we get next to the train tracks, so not that one, that's first. Second one coming up here, and then the third down past these grain bins. This isn't the ones we're going to go look at. That's probably, in fact, just looking across the fields there, that's probably them there. I can see what look like a couple of newer, bigger bins, and 2 or 3 smaller bins, so I think that is where we're heading. So we'll go down, go and take a look at them, but it looks promising already. Yep, this is the place in here on the right, so go and have a look. Those are some pretty big bins. That's a decent upgrade, isn't it, going from the small bins I've got there to 2 bigger ones. Means, I suppose, if you're doing soybeans and corn, you'd have 1 bin for each, depending, of course, on what sort of yields you have. But let's just go and have a look. I'm pretty sure it's this Westeel, the smooth wall bin on the left here, and these 2 Meridian bins on the right. So, back up here, we're going to have a chat to the farmer. We're a little bit late. We said we'd be here at 9. It's 9:03, but hopefully we're not inconveniencing him. We'll go over and have a chat and see what he's looking for, and then we'll go and have a look at the bins. Well, I'll tell you what, everyone I've met around here has been the loveliest, most considerate people I've ever met. They're just generous with their time. We've spent about an hour just chilling the fat, talking about farming and things like that, and he's given me a bit of an indication of what he wants for the bins. 10 grand for all 3, and then moved at our cost, and they are all ours. So I'm just taking a look here. They're in pretty good nick. He's looked after them pretty well. 3,000 bushels, just over 3,000 bushels in each of these Meridian bins, and about 2,000 in the Westeel bin, the smooth wall bin. So that'd give us, what's that, 6, 7, 8,000 bushels of storage. Won't work if we're looking at getting around that 5,000 bushels of corn. So we'd probably have to use, say, 2 of those for corn. That could have soybeans in it, and then we'd have to find something to do with the rest of the soybeans, but it's a start. We'll have some other costs as well. The slabs, we'd have to build the rings. Obviously not going to be able to pick those up and move them. Beauty of the smooth wall is it just needs a couple of pads underneath the legs, but it's almost a freestanding beast, so a little bit easier probably to move that one than it will be with these. So I'm going to go away and do a little bit of homework, figure out what it's going to cost to do the pads, whether it's something we can do ourselves and just pay for the concrete. He's not in a hurry to get rid of them, which is good, because obviously, as you can see over there, he has got these wonderful big bins already up and going, so he's not going to be caught short come harvest time without any space for his crops. So we can do it at our convenience. Happy for us to leave them here until we've got pads built, until we've got it all set up, and once we've got our planting done. So some consideration, and in fact I'd be interested in your thoughts. Is it worth spending 10 grand on these, mindful of the fact we'd probably have to do our own money into them? I'm sure we could come to a deal where we loan the money to uncle and aunt instead of investing it. It would be a loan, so we'd just have to see whether that's something they would consider. Of course, it'll end up being more than 10 grand. It might be closer to 15 or 20 possibly by the time we've done that, and we'll still need something else. They on their own won't. Well, I say we'll need something else. I'm hoping we will need something else, and that we've done enough with our crop yields to require more than this for storage. So food for thought. Of course, the other thing we're going to need with these is an auger to fill into the top with, and hopefully the same auger to take out of these belts down the bottom here. Anyhow, that is us done. I think that is going to be a great place to wrap up for today. We're going to head on back to the farm. We've got to get in touch with FBN and find out when they're going to have those soybeans out to us. Hopefully it won't take too long, and then we'll be into planting the rest of the beans and then moving on to corn. So, as always, thank you all very much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed that, and I'll catch you in the next one.